I'm Sarah Thompson, 32, and I once invested over $15,000 in what I genuinely believed would be the quintessential family vacation to Hawaii, a special trip planned for my mother's 59th birthday. For months, I had meticulously planned, setting aside every spare dollar, envisioning the sheer joy on her face as she first glimpsed the ocean vistas from our luxurious resort. Then, just 3 days before we were set to depart, my phone chimed. It was a message from my stepsister, Jessica. The words were stark. "You've no place here, sweetheart." My hand trembled as I absorbed the text. But amidst the tears and shock, a clear, resolute plan began to crystallize in my mind. If you're encountering this narrative now, perhaps share in the comments where you're tuning in from. Consider hitting the like button and subscribing to follow my journey as I recount how I managed to transform this profoundly hurtful act of betrayal into what became the most liberating experience of my life. My personal history begins in Chicago, where I cultivated my career in marketing. My ascent up the corporate hierarchy was fueled by sheer will and relentless dedication, eventually securing a level of financial stability that felt hard-won after years of navigating hardship. To truly grasp the significance this Hawaii trip held for me, however, it's essential to understand my family background. My parents' divorce occurred when I was 14, a tumultuous period that left lingering emotional scars. My mother, Linda, a dedicated teacher, suddenly found herself navigating life as a single parent while my father relocated cross-country with his new partner. Those initial years were undeniably difficult. We moved to a smaller apartment, Mom took on additional tutoring work, and I started part-time jobs at 16 to contribute to household expenses. Despite the financial strain, Mom and I forged an exceptionally close bond during this time. She'd patiently stay up late, assisting me with schoolwork, even after spending her evenings grading papers. And she never once missed any of my school events, making arrangements for her tutoring sessions if necessary. Everything shifted again when I was 17. Mom met Robert, a successful entrepreneur who personified affluence with his luxury car and penchant for fine dining. Within 8 months, they were married, and we transitioned into his expansive suburban residence, complete with leisure amenities like a pool and home theater. Overnight, I acquired 2 step-siblings, Jessica, then 13, and Tyler, who was 10. From the very beginning, I felt like an outsider within that household. Robert maintained a polite but distinctly reserved demeanor towards me, reserving his warmth and attention for his biological offspring. Jessica and Tyler, accustomed to a life of privilege, resented my presence, making it explicitly clear that I wasn't authentically part of their family unit. Subtle but piercing comments like, "That's not how things are done in this family," or "You wouldn't grasp our traditions," constantly underscored my status as an outsider. What was most painful was observing my mother's gradual transformation. She seemed to adopt Robert's lifestyle and priorities, and at times, it felt as though she was striving excessively to integrate into his world, occasionally at my expense. When I reached high school graduation, Robert proudly declared his intention to fund his children's college education at any institution they chose. When Mom tentatively inquired about my plans, he smoothly countered that I was clearly independent and capable, suggesting I would benefit from the character-building experience of funding my own education. Mom didn't press the matter. Consequently, I juggled 3 jobs while managing a full academic load, graduated burdened by student debt, and began my career at the entry level of the corporate world, while Jessica attended an expensive private university, with Tyler later following suit. During family gatherings, my academic and professional accomplishments received brief, superficial acknowledgement before the conversation invariably pivoted to Jessica's study abroad experiences or Tyler's internships, conveniently arranged through Robert's extensive network. Holiday dinners often included nostalgic recounts of family vacations I had never been invited on, and discussions of traditions that had been established after I had already moved out for college. Despite this consistent feeling of being on the periphery, I continued to participate, continued to attempt to fit into a family dynamic that never seemed to genuinely make space for me. Why? Because of Mom. Despite everything, my love for her was profound, and I understood the compromises she had made to secure stability after the divorce. She appeared content with Robert, even if it sometimes meant overlooking the ways I was treated. As my career advanced and I finally achieved significant financial success, I yearned to do something truly extraordinary for her, something that would rekindle the sparkle in her eyes, reminiscent of the times when it was just the two of us. That impulse led to the conception of the Hawaii plan. Mom had always harbored a quiet dream of visiting Hawaii someday. For 2 decades, a small ceramic hula dancer, a gift from a former student whose family had vacationed there, adorned her desk at work. Whenever stress mounted, she would look at it and muse, "One day I'll see those beaches myself." I decided her 59th birthday presented the perfect opportunity to realize that long-held dream, not just for her, but for all of us. Perhaps, I naively hoped, a beautiful shared vacation might finally facilitate a connection with my step-siblings and stepfather. Perhaps seeing me provide this incredible experience would finally prompt them to accept me as part of the family. It represented a substantial financial outlay to spend on individuals who had never fully embraced me, but I convinced myself that this grand gesture held the power to fundamentally change everything. In retrospect, I recognized that I was still that 17-year-old girl, desperate for acceptance, willing to attempt to purchase my way into a family that had already internally decided I didn't truly belong. Planning the perfect Hawaiian getaway became an absorbing pursuit for over a year. Every single detail needed to be flawless to make Mom's dream trip a reality. My efforts commenced with establishing a dedicated savings account solely for this purpose, automatically transferring a portion of each paycheck. When that proved insufficient, I took on freelance consulting work on weekends, sacrificing my social life and much-needed rest. I implemented strict cutbacks in my personal spending wherever possible. I canceled my gym membership, opting for runs in the local park. I stopped having my hair professionally colored, prepared, and brought my lunch to work daily, and relocated to a less expensive apartment with a significantly longer commute. I even sold my car, transitioning to public transportation, channeling the proceeds directly into my Hawaii fund. The sacrifices felt entirely justified each time I visualized Mom's delighted expression upon revealing the surprise. With the financial foundation solidifying, I immersed myself in meticulous research. Countless evenings were dedicated to poring over travel blogs, scrutinizing review websites, and engaging in Hawaii vacation forums. I sought authentic experiences, not generic tourist traps. After evaluating various islands, I settled on Maui, perceiving its ideal balance of relaxation potential and available activities. The selection of the resort consumed weeks of comparative analysis. I desired a place that felt genuinely special, where Mom would feel like royalty. Eventually, I discovered the perfect luxury oceanfront resort, boasting spacious suites, multiple pools, and world-class dining. It struck the right balance of elegance and local Hawaiian charm, incorporating traditional cultural activities respectfully into the guest experience. The initial price elicited a gasp, but I reminded myself this was intended as a once-in-a-lifetime gift. I reserved 3 adjoining suites for a 7-night stay, one for Mom and Robert, one for Jessica and her boyfriend, and one for Tyler and myself, though I privately intended to request a rollaway bed given our distant relationship. Next came the activities. I arranged for a private sunset luau on the beach, complete with traditional dancers and fire performers. I scheduled a helicopter tour offering breathtaking views of the island's most stunning natural features, including waterfalls accessible only from the air. I booked a private snorkeling excursion to waters known for abundant sea turtles, aware of Mom's lifelong fascination with marine life. Reservations were secured for a sunrise tour of the Haleakala volcano crater, a professional family photo session on the beach at sunset, and tables at the island's most exclusive restaurants. To orchestrate all of this without divulging the surprise, I recognized I would need Robert's cooperation regarding dates. I approached him cautiously, explaining my desire to do something special for Mom's birthday and needing to ascertain the family's availability. Our exchange was brief and strictly business-oriented. He seemed mildly impressed by the scope of my plan, but remarked that I might be financially overextending myself. "This sort of luxury vacation is quite costly," he observed. "Are you certain you can comfortably afford this?" I assured him I had saved diligently. He simply shrugged and consulted his calendar, providing a specific week in June when he could clear his schedule. Following that, I casually contacted Jessica and Tyler separately, framing the conversation around checking their availability for a family celebration for Mom. Jessica's reply was polite but detached. "Sure, sounds nice. Just let me know the dates so I can inform work." Tyler's response was even more succinct. "Whatever works for everyone else works for me." Neither asked for any specific details, which helped keep my surprise intact, but concurrently reinforced the lack of genuine connection we shared. As the months passed and the departure date drew nearer, I added personal touches to enhance the experience. I curated a beautiful photo album chronicling Mom's life, leaving blank pages at the end for the Hawaiian memories we would create together. I designed personalized itinerary booklets for each family member, including daily schedules, intriguing facts about Hawaiian culture, and sections for journaling personal experiences. I ordered custom beach bags, each embroidered with initials, filled with high-quality sunscreen, stylish designer sunglasses, and tropical scented toiletries. These supplementary items further strained my budget, necessitating the postponement of much-needed renovations in my bathroom, which suffered from outdated fixtures and occasional plumbing issues. Each time I manipulated the finicky bathroom faucet or observed the cracked tiles, I reminded myself that this inconvenience was temporary. The prospect of a meaningful family bonding experience would, I believed, justify every expenditure and sacrifice. One evening, while finalizing the last few details, my best friend Megan questioned why I was spending so much on people who had consistently failed to fully accept me. "You could easily take yourself on an incredible solo trip for that amount," she pointed out. "Or perhaps just treat your mom to a special getaway. Just the two of you." I dismissed her concerns. "This is different," I insisted. "When they witness the depth of thought and financial commitment I've invested, they'll finally grasp that I'm serious about being a true part of this family. Besides, Mom has always wished for us all to be closer. This is my opportunity to make that aspiration a reality for her." Megan appeared skeptical, but remained supportive. "I genuinely hope it unfolds exactly as you envision," she said, though her tone suggested underlying doubts. In the final weeks, leading up to the grand reveal, excitement made sleep a challenge. My life was organized around spreadsheets, tracking every reservation, confirmation number, and contact detail for every tour guide and restaurant. I had meticulously calculated transportation times between activities to ensure a relaxed, unhurried pace. I even researched the average weather patterns for that specific time of year in Maui to include appropriate clothing suggestions within everyone's itinerary. The sheer scale of my preparation was a testament not only to my meticulous nature, but also to my desperate hope that this perfectly orchestrated vacation would finally make me feel genuinely included. The evening designated for the surprise announcement arrived, and my stomach churned with nervous anticipation as I drove to Mom and Robert's house. I had informed them I wanted to treat everyone to a pre-birthday dinner for Mom, ensuring the entire family would be present. I had secured reservations at an upscale downtown restaurant, specifically chosen for its private room, offering a secluded space for my announcement without interruption. Arriving early, I set up my laptop and a projector I had borrowed from work. I prepared a concise presentation featuring stunning photographs of the resort and planned activities, concluding with our confirmed reservation details. The hostess graciously assisted me in arranging everything impeccably, even providing a small table for the gift bags I had prepared, filled with Hawaiian-themed items, tropical scented candles, flower hair clips, and small bottles of sunscreen thoughtfully labeled Save for Hawaii.
When my family arrived, Mom was radiant with happiness at having everyone gathered, a rare occurrence lately.
Jessica arrived with her boyfriend, Ethan, whom I had only met twice before. Tyler was the last to appear, largely absorbed by his phone. Robert promptly ordered an expensive bottle of champagne, making a point to audibly mention its cost within earshot. The conversation during the appetizer course was predictably dominated by Robert's latest business triumphs, Jessica's recent professional advancement, and Tyler's upcoming post-graduation European travels, a trip Robert was funding as a learning experience. Mom occasionally attempted to include me in the discussion, saying things like, "Sarah just completed a significant marketing campaign, didn't you, dear?" But my contributions were met with polite nods before the conversation inevitably reverted to their preferred topics. As dessert was served, I felt my heart pounding. This was the culmination of months of planning. I stood up, gently tapping my glass with a spoon. "I have a special announcement to make," I began, my voice slightly more shaky than I had intended. "Mom, your birthday is next month, and I wanted to give you something you've always dreamed about." I activated the projector, and stunning images of Hawaiian beaches, swaying palm trees, and luxurious resort rooms filled the wall. Mom's hand instinctively flew to her mouth, her eyes wide with astonishment. "For your 59th birthday," I announced, "I'm taking the entire family to Hawaii for a week of luxury and adventure." I clicked through the slides, showcasing the oceanfront resort, the extensive list of activities I had planned, and the beautiful suites I had reserved. "Everything is booked and paid for. We leave next month on the 15th. A profound silence enveloped the room. Mom's eyes filled with tears as she stared at the images. "Hawaii," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "You're taking us to Hawaii?" I nodded, emotion making it difficult to speak. "All of us? Everything paid for?" When I nodded again, she sprang from her seat and enveloped me in a fierce hug, sobbing with pure joy. "I simply can't believe this. Hawaii, my dream." Over Mom's shoulder, I observed the reactions of the rest of the family. Robert's smile seemed strained, his eyebrows raised in an expression that looked like surprise, mixed with something else, perhaps discomfort. Jessica's mouth had formed a perfect O of shock, while her boyfriend Ethan appeared genuinely impressed, murmuring, "Wow," under his breath. Tyler finally lifted his gaze from his phone, his expression completely unreadable. "This is quite unexpected, Sarah," Robert finally commented, his tone measured.
Very generous of you.
Jessica quickly regained her composure, her initial shock transitioning into an overly enthusiastic display that didn't quite reach her eyes. "OMG, I've been absolutely dying to go to Hawaii. I already have the perfect swimsuits." Tyler offered a simple nod. "Cool, thanks." But for me, Mom's reaction was the most significant. She couldn't stop gazing at the presentation, asking questions about every single detail, gasping at each new revelation. "A private luau? Helicopter tours? Sarah, this must have been incredibly expensive." I deflected her questions about the cost, instead focusing on distributing the gift bags and explaining the detailed itineraries I had created. "All you need to do is pack. Everything else is completely taken care of." As everyone examined their personalized vacation materials, the atmosphere in the room subtly shifted. Robert became unusually quiet, studying the itinerary with intense focus. Jessica continuously whispered to Ethan, occasionally glancing my way. Tyler seemed the least affected, simply tucking his materials into his pocket with a shrug. But Mom was absolutely radiant with happiness. already discussing what she wanted to see first. As we were leaving the restaurant, Robert approached me. "This is quite an elaborate gift, Sarah," he said, his tone difficult to decipher. "I typically handle our family vacations. You really should have consulted me first." Before I could formulate a response, Mom joined us, linking her arm through mine. "Isn't this simply incredible, Robert?" she exclaimed. "Our Sarah is so thoughtful." His expression softened slightly at her obvious joy. "Yes, quite thoughtful," he agreed, though his eyes retained a calculating glint. When we reached the parking lot, Mom embraced me tightly again. "Can I ride with Sarah?" she asked Robert. "I want to hear so much more about the trip." Alone in my car, Mom's excitement was palpable. "I truly can't believe you did this. How on earth did you afford it? This must have cost thousands." I squeezed her hand. "Don't concern yourself with the cost. I've been saving meticulously for a long time. You absolutely deserve this, Mom." Her eyes welled up again. "No one has ever done anything remotely like this for me. And for you to include everyone. I know things haven't always been easy with Robert's children. This felt like my opening. I hoped this might be a chance for us all to grow closer, to feel more like a genuine family," I admitted. Mom's expression grew solemn. "Oh, Sarah, you have genuinely tried so hard all these years." She patted my hand gently. This trip will change everything. You'll see, this is going to be our best family memory yet." Her unwavering certainty filled me with a renewed sense of hope. Perhaps she was right. Perhaps this grand gesture would finally bridge the gap between me and my step-siblings. Perhaps Robert would finally perceive me as worthy of being included in his family unit. As I dropped Mom off, she hugged me fiercely one last time. "I am so incredibly proud of you," she whispered. "So proud of the woman you've become." Driving home, I felt a lightness I hadn't experienced in years. The sheer joy on Mom's face had rendered every sacrifice worthwhile. This trip, I was convinced, would be a catalyst for healing old wounds. It represented the fresh start we so desperately needed. I was certain of it. The initial wave of excitement following my announcement gradually subsided, giving way to a flurry of preparation as our departure date loomed. I established a family group text to facilitate coordination, sharing practical tips like packing advice and weather forecasts, along with countdown reminders. Initially, everyone responded with appropriate enthusiasm. Mom sent excited messages almost daily, delving into research on Hawaiian culture and sharing interesting facts she unearthed. Robert posed practical questions regarding transportation logistics and check-in procedures. Jessica inquired about suitable attire for various planned activities and requested restaurant recommendations specifically for capturing Instagram-worthy photos. Tyler's responses were minimal but punctual, usually a simple "okay" or "thanks for the info." However, as the weeks progressed, I began noticing subtle shifts in the group's communication patterns. Response times became noticeably longer, sometimes with hours or even a full day passing before anyone acknowledged my messages. Their questions and comments grew increasingly vague. "Sounds good" became a common substitute for specific feedback regarding itinerary adjustments I suggested. When I specifically asked if anyone had any special dietary restrictions that needed to be communicated to the restaurants, the silence stretched for 3 full days before Mom finally responded, "I think we're all fine with anything, dear." Something felt fundamentally off. I attempted to dismiss my growing unease as mere pre-trip anxiety, but the knot in my stomach tightened when I met Mom for lunch, 2 weeks before our scheduled departure. She seemed distracted, frequently checking her phone and offering only superficial engagement when I inquired about what she was most anticipating in Hawaii. "Everything sounds wonderful," she repeated several times, her usual enthusiasm oddly subdued. When I mentioned the private cooking class I had added as a surprise, she glanced at her phone again before responding with a delayed, unenthusiastic, "Oh, that's nice, dear." As we were finishing our meals, her phone rang. She glanced at the screen and declined the call. "Jessica, again," she explained with a tight smile. She's been calling about vacation details. But Jessica hadn't communicated with me about any details in over a week. Why would she circumvent me, the primary trip organizer, to discuss plans with Mom? Before I could voice the question, Mom's phone pinged with a text message. She read it swiftly, her expression flickering with something that looked uncomfortably like guilt before she quickly tucked the phone away. Robert needs me home early today, she explained, gathering her purse. Something about a delivery arriving. The lunch concluded awkwardly, with Mom giving me a hurried hug before rushing off to her car. Driving home, I impulsively took a detour past their house. A childish urge I couldn't resist. No delivery trucks were visible. Robert's car was absent, but Jessica's was parked in the driveway. Later that afternoon, I called Jessica directly, hoping to clarify the situation. Hey, Mom mentioned you had some questions about the trip, I began. I'm happy to go over anything you're wondering about. There was a pause. Oh no, everything's fine. Just checking some dates with Mom, she replied, her tone breezy but clipped. So you're all set for the 15th? Everyone's confirmed they can make it? Another pause. Yeah, should be fine. Listen, I'm heading into a meeting. Can we talk later? She hung up before I could respond. That evening, while casually scrolling through Instagram, I encountered something that made my heart plummet. A photo posted by Tyler. A picture of a family dinner at Roberto's, an upscale Italian restaurant. The caption read, Tuesday Tradition.
The image showed Mom, Robert, Jessica, Ethan, and Tyler all smiling around a lavishly set table.
I hadn't been invited to this family tradition. In fact, I hadn't even been aware it existed. The timestamp indicated it had been posted just 2 hours earlier, precisely when Mom would have returned from our lunch. When I texted Tyler a casual, "Dinner looks nice. Didn't know you guys did Tuesday dinners regularly?" His response was swift. Not regular, just happened today. But the caption, Tuesday family tradition, suggested otherwise. The following morning, I called Mom directly. Is everything okay with the trip? Everyone seems a bit distant in the group chat. Oh, she sounded startled. Everything's perfectly fine, dear. Everyone's just quite busy with work and preparations. I saw Tyler's post about dinner last night, I continued. Looks like fun. A brief silence followed. That was just a last-minute thing. Robert had some business associates in town. The lie stung. There had been no business associates visible in the photo. Mom, I pressed gently, if something is going on, you can tell me. Is anyone having second thoughts about the trip? No, she insisted, her voice noticeably rising in pitch, a telltale sign of her discomfort. Everyone is absolutely looking forward to it. It's just, Robert's work schedule has been particularly challenging lately. He's doing his best to clear his calendar completely, but he did confirm he could take that week off. That's precisely why we booked those specific dates. I know, honey. Don't worry about it. Everything will work out. Her reassurance felt profoundly hollow. Over the ensuing week, the communication chasm widened further. The group chat fell silent, despite my regular updates and attempts at engagement. My direct messages to individual family members received increasingly delayed and frustratingly brief responses. 10 days before our scheduled departure, I still hadn't received everyone's crucial flight information, necessary for coordinating airport pickups in Maui. Despite multiple requests, I finally resorted to calling Robert's assistant at his office. She seemed surprised by my inquiry. Mr. Davidson's calendar indicates he is scheduled to be in town that entire week for the quarterly board meetings, she stated matter-of-factly. There is no vacation time blocked off for him. My stomach plummeted. Are you absolutely certain? For the week of the 15th? Positive. The board meetings have been scheduled for months. He's presenting the new financial projections. I thanked her and ended the call. My mind racing. Had Robert simply forgotten? Had plans changed drastically without anyone informing me? I immediately attempted to call Mom, but the call went directly to voicemail. I sent a text message. Mom, just found out Robert has board meetings scheduled during our Hawaii trip. What's going on? Hours passed with no response. That evening, as I was preparing to drive to their house for a direct confrontation, Mom finally called back. Sarah, I am so terribly sorry about the confusion, she began, her voice hushed as if she were trying to avoid being overheard. Robert honestly thought he could reschedule those meetings, but it simply proved impossible. We were trying desperately to figure out how to tell you. So the trip is off? My voice cracked despite my earnest effort to remain calm. No, no, not at all, she quickly rushed to assure me. We are absolutely still planning to go, Robert. He just might have to join us a day or two later, or perhaps leave early. We're still working out the specific details. Her explanation starkly contradicted what Robert's assistant had explicitly told me, that he had no vacation time blocked whatsoever. But I chose not to press the point further on the phone. Okay, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Just keep me updated, and please make absolutely certain Jessica and Tyler confirm their flight information soon. I urgently need it for the airport shuttle arrangements. Of course, darling, she replied quickly. I'll remind them tonight. As the departure date inexorably crept closer, the knot of anxiety in my stomach tightened. 5 days before we were scheduled to leave, I still had not received everyone's flight details. The family group chat remained eerily silent, despite my increasingly direct inquiries. The resort even called to reconfirm our arrival details. And I found myself hesitating, suddenly uncertain if the trip was actually going ahead as planned. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, a terrible suspicion forming that I simply couldn't bring myself to fully acknowledge. Something was profoundly wrong, and it was clear that no one was being truthful with me. My phone remained silent, devoid of any explanations from the family who were supposedly eagerly anticipating a dream vacation. The following morning, I resolved to drive to Mom and Robert's house after work for a face-to-face conversation. This unnerving silence had persisted for far too long. I needed definitive answers before making the final payments for the remaining activities I had meticulously planned. Little did I realize that those answers would arrive much sooner than anticipated, and in a form that would irrevocably shatter the last vestiges of my illusions about my true place within this family. 3 days prior to our scheduled flight to Hawaii, I was seated at my desk, finalizing some minor details with the resort concierge. We were discussing options for welcome baskets when my phone pinged with an incoming text message. Assuming it was related to the trip preparations, I quickly checked it while still on the call. The message was from Jessica. Mom and Dad decided it would be better if it was just the 4 of us in Hawaii. You've no place here, sweetheart. We'll bring you back a souvenir. Thanks for the gift, though. I read the message not once, but 3 times, utterly convinced I had misinterpreted the words. My hand shook violently as I held the phone, the concierge's voice fading into a distant background hum as blood roared in my ears. I mumbled something about needing to call back later and abruptly ended the call, then stared at the message again. The words remained unchanged. The implication was devastatingly clear. They were still going to Hawaii, my trip, the one I had planned and paid for. But I was no longer included. I was unwelcome. A wave of physical illness washed over me, a sickening nausea rising as the grim reality sank in. This simply could not be happening. There had to be some colossal mistake. With fingers that felt clumsy and numb, I immediately called Mom. The call went straight to voicemail. I tried again. The exact same result. I sent a text. Mom, I just received a very strange message from Jessica regarding the Hawaii trip. Please call me ASAP. No response. I then tried Robert, then Tyler. No answer from either of them. 15 agonizing minutes crawled by before I attempted to call Mom again. This time, the call connected, but went to voicemail after ringing only a few times. She was actively declining my calls. The crushing realization landed like a physical blow. I left a voicemail, my voice cracking, despite my desperate efforts to sound calm. Mom, I genuinely need to speak with you about Jessica's text. Please call me back immediately. Another 30 minutes passed with complete silence from everyone. I found it impossible to focus on work, unable to think about anything except the brutal text message still glaring from my phone screen. Finally, in an act of sheer desperation, I called Robert's office line. To my absolute astonishment, he answered, "Sarah." His tone was cool, formal, and completely devoid of warmth. "I was actually about to call you." "What on earth is happening?" I demanded, abandoning any pretense of politeness. "Jessica just texted me saying I'm not welcome on the Hawaii trip, the trip I planned and paid for. There must be some terrible mistake." A long, heavy pause followed. "It's not a mistake, Sarah. We've been discussing this as a family, and we feel it would be preferable if it was just the four of us." "The four of you?" I repeated, incredulous. "You mean you, Mom, Jessica, and Tyler? Without me? On the trip that I arranged and paid for?" "Yes." His response was maddeningly calm. "We truly appreciate your generosity in arranging this vacation. It was very thoughtful, but we collectively felt it would be best if you did not join us." "Best for whom?" I was nearly shouting now, beyond caring how I sounded. "And why?" "Look, Sarah." Robert's tone turned condescending. "Family vacations are intended to be about relaxation and enjoying quality time together. Given the tensions that regrettably sometimes arise when you are present, we thought everyone would have a significantly more pleasant experience this way." "Does Mom agree with this?" I asked, my voice now dangerously quiet. Another pause. "Yes, she does. She was hoping to call you herself, but she's been quite emotional about the situation. She doesn't want you to feel bad." The depth of the betrayal cut so deeply, it felt difficult to breathe. "Put her on the phone, now." "She's not available right now." "You mean she's not willing to tell me herself that she's excluding her own daughter from a trip that daughter sacrificed to provide?" When Robert didn't immediately respond, I knew I had hit the mark. "This is beyond cruel," I continued, my voice trembling with suppressed rage. "I spent over $15,000 on this trip. I saved for an entire year. I planned every single detail to make it special for Mom." "We understand it's disappointing," Robert replied, his corporate conflict resolution voice in full effect. "If it makes you feel better, I'm perfectly happy to reimburse you for your portion of the trip expenses. The rest we consider a gift." "My portion?" I laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "I paid for everything, every single penny. The resort, the flights, the activities, all of it." This time, the silence on the other end of the line lasted longer. When Robert finally spoke again, his tone had subtly changed. That can't possibly be right. The total cost for a trip of this caliber would be $15,642. I finished for him, my voice cold. "Which I paid in full. Check with the resort if you don't believe me. All the reservations are under my name." Another extended pause. "I'll have to discuss this with your mother. There appears to be some considerable confusion." "The only confusion," I stated firmly, "is why you all believed it was acceptable to take my incredibly generous gift and then inform me I am not welcome to participate in it." I ended the call before he could utter another word, then collapsed into my office chair, shaking uncontrollably with a potent mix of anger and hurt. The sheer depth of the betrayal felt almost incomprehensible. I had dedicated a year to saving, planning, and meticulously arranging every detail of this dream vacation, only to be informed that I couldn't even attend. And worse, Mom had apparently agreed to this exclusion. Tears streamed down my cheeks as the full emotional impact registered. I had always acknowledged that I wasn't fully accepted by Robert and his children, but I had steadfastly believed Mom was on my side. I had believed that beneath the complex layers of our blended family dynamics, she would always ultimately choose me, always defend me. That deeply held belief was now shattered beyond repair. I buried my face in my hands, allowing myself a few minutes of raw, unfiltered grief. Then I gathered my belongings and left the office, informing my assistant I was taking the remainder of the day as personal time. At home, I lay on my bed, staring blankly at the ceiling, my mind replaying years of subtle exclusions and perceived oversights that now appeared in a starkly new, more sinister light. Dinners to which I hadn't been invited. Family photos taken when I was intentionally absent. Holiday traditions that always seemed to involve an extra celebration I wasn't part of. All the times I had constructed elaborate excuses for their behavior. Convinced myself it was accidental or somehow justified. The painful truth was suddenly impossible to ignore. I had never, truly, been considered a genuine part of this family. Sometime around midnight, exhausted from crying, but utterly unable to sleep, I received a text message from Mom. "We need to talk tomorrow. Come to the house at 10 a.m. No apology, no explanation, just a curt summons. I didn't respond, but I knew instinctively that I would go. I desperately needed to hear directly from her how she could possibly attempt to justify this profound betrayal. As I finally drifted into a restless, troubled sleep, Jessica's cruel words echoed in my mind. "You've no place here, sweetheart." For the first time, they didn't just wound. They felt like an accidental gift. The unintended permission I needed to finally stop striving to belong where it had been made unequivocally clear I never would. Morning arrived, bringing with it a renewed sense of grim determination, along with dozens more missed calls and unread messages. I consciously ignored them all, as Megan and I continued finalizing our revised Hawaii plans over breakfast. "Are you genuinely not going to respond to any of them?" she inquired, nodding towards my still buzzing phone. "Not until I am ready," I replied, surprised by the newfound resolve evident in my own voice. "Right now, I need to focus entirely on what I am doing, not on their anticipated reactions." I had one crucial call left to make, to the resort itself. It was a request for a special welcome package in our room and a notification to their security team about potential uninvited guests attempting to access our reservation. The resort manager was remarkably understanding and assured me that all guest information was strictly confidential, and that only those explicitly named on the reservation would be granted access to our room or permitted to charge anything to our account. With these necessary security measures firmly in place, I finally turned my attention to the barrage of communication attempts from my family. I decided to address them in ascending order of anticipated difficulty, starting with Tyler. His messages were the least confrontational, merely expressing disbelief and asking if I was genuinely serious about my decision. I sent him a brief, concise response. "Yes, I am serious. The trip is canceled for all of you."
I recommend you adjust your schedules accordingly.
Jessica was next. Her messages had escalated from initial outrage to outright threats. "Dad's lawyer will be contacting you. You can't just take back a gift." I almost laughed at the sheer emptiness of the threat. Earlier that morning, I had consulted with a lawyer friend who had unequivocally confirmed what I already suspected. They possessed absolutely no legal recourse. I kept my response strictly clinical. As the person who made and paid for the reservations, I have every legal right to modify them. There is no legal ambiguity whatsoever in this matter. Please cease all contact with me immediately. Robert's messages were predictably authoritative and demanding, insisting I call him immediately to sort out this childish behavior. My response was equally direct and final. "There is absolutely nothing to sort out. The reservations have been effectively canceled. Any attempts to contact the resort directly will prove futile, as they have been explicitly instructed to maintain guest privacy. This matter is definitively closed." The hardest messages to confront were those from Mom. Unlike the others, her tone wasn't laced with anger, but with a desperate, pleading quality. "Sarah, please don't do this. I know we deeply hurt you. I know I should have stood up for you. Please, please, give me a chance to make this right." Part of me, the small, vulnerable girl who had always craved her mother's approval, yearned to yield, to find some form of compromise. But the stronger part, the woman who had finally, painstakingly recognized her own inherent worth, held firm. I carefully composed a response. Mom, I love you, but I can no longer accept being treated as a persistent afterthought in your life. You had multiple clear opportunities to stand up for me, and you consciously chose not to. I require time and space to heal from that profound hurt. I will reach out to you when I am genuinely ready to talk. With those difficult messages sent, I silenced my phone once more and turned to Megan. Ready to finish packing? The day unfolded in a focused flurry of preparation. Although our actual departure wasn't for another 2 days, concentrating on the practicalities of the trip kept me grounded as my phone continued its relentless buzzing with anticipated responses to my messages. At one point, the building's front desk called to inform me that Robert was downstairs, aggressively demanding to be allowed up. I firmly declined his request and instructed them to tell him to leave immediately or face the police being called. His status and intimidation tactics might be effective in corporate boardrooms, but they held no sway over me any longer. That evening, Mom showed up at my door unannounced. She must have either convinced the front desk attendant to grant her access or cleverly slipped in behind another resident. Her eyes were visibly red from crying, her usually impeccable appearance somewhat disheveled. Sarah, please, she began the moment I opened the door. We desperately need to discuss this. I stepped aside, allowing her entry, acutely aware of Megan discreetly withdrawing to my bedroom to afford us some measure of privacy. There is absolutely nothing to talk about, I stated quietly, once the door was closed behind her. The decision has been made. But this is so extreme, she protested, her voice trembling. Can't we possibly find some form of compromise? Perhaps we could postpone the trip, and I'll go another time. I shook my head slowly. This is no longer solely about the trip, Mom. This is about 15 years of feeling consistently unwelcome and insignificant within your new family unit. This is about you persistently choosing them over me whenever conflicts or difficult situations have arisen. That's not fair, she whispered, though her eyes clearly betrayed her dawning recognition of the truth in my words. I have always loved you. Love isn't enough, I replied, my voice steady. Not when it comes burdened with conditions and perceived rankings. Not when I am perpetually positioned at the bottom of your evident priority list. What can I possibly do? She asked, tears now streaming freely down her face. How can I make this right? The raw sincerity in her voice nearly fractured my resolve. But I held firm. I honestly don't know if you can fix this, Mom. Some forms of damage simply cannot be undone with mere apologies. I paused, taking a breath. I require time and significant space to determine what kind of relationship, if any, I can possibly have with you moving forward. But the trip is non-negotiable, I stated firmly, leaving no room for doubt. I am going to Hawaii with Megan. You, Robert, and the kids are definitively not coming. That part is absolutely settled. She looked utterly defeated, in a way I had never witnessed before. Robert is absolutely furious, she offered meekly. He's talking about suing you. He has no legal grounds, I replied calmly, the assertion feeling empowering. And the very fact that this is his immediate response, threats and intimidation, rather than any recognition of how profoundly wrong this entire situation was, simply further confirms that I have made the correct decision. After she left, I felt emotionally drained, but simultaneously strangely peaceful. The confrontation I had dreaded for so long had occurred, and I had navigated it without crumbling under the immense emotional pressure. More importantly, I had successfully maintained my established boundaries. The following day, the threats escalated. Robert sent a formal-looking email that purported to be from his lawyer, but was transparently composed by him, demanding I cease and desist from fraudulent cancellation of contracted services. I forwarded it directly to my actual lawyer friend, who confirmed its complete lack of legal merit and promptly drafted a brief, cutting response that I sent back. All services were contracted and paid for by me personally. All cancellations were executed in strict accordance with the terms and conditions of those contracts. Any further harassment will be reported to the appropriate legal authorities. The email appeared to achieve the desired effect. Robert's communication attempts ceased abruptly. Jessica sent one final, venomous text. "You've shown your true colors."
Don't expect to be welcome at any family events in the future.
To this, I didn't even bother formulating a response. Tyler, surprisingly, sent a more thoughtful message later that day. "I don't agree with what you did, but I totally get why you did it. This whole situation sucks." It wasn't an apology, certainly, but it was at least a glimmer of acknowledgement, which was significantly more than I had received from the others. Finally, the long-awaited day of departure arrived. Megan and I arrived at the airport with ample time, checked our bags, and made our way smoothly through security. As we settled at our gate, I turned my phone back on one last time before the flight. There was a single new message from Mom. "I understand you need space. I respect your decision about the trip. I just want you to know I love you. And when you're ready to talk, I'll be here. Have a safe flight." It wasn't everything I had longed to hear, certainly, but it felt like a nascent beginning, an acceptance of my boundaries, rather than yet another desperate attempt to change my mind. As our boarding group was called, I turned off my phone and tucked it securely into my bag. Looking at Megan, I smiled. Perhaps my first genuinely joyful smile in days. "Ready for paradise?" "More than ready," she grinned back, her enthusiasm infectious. As we stepped onto the plane, I felt a profound weight lifting from my shoulders. For the very first time in my adult life, I wasn't seeking validation or acceptance from people who had consistently demonstrated an unwillingness to offer it. I was consciously choosing myself, choosing joy, choosing to invest my time and energy in someone who truly valued and appreciated me. The plane ascended, carrying me away from the family that had never truly been mine, and soaring towards a week of personal healing and self-discovery in the vibrant embrace of paradise. The moment we disembarked the plane in Maui, the warm, humid, tropical air enveloped us like a gentle embrace. After the emotional turbulence of the preceding week, the serene beauty of Hawaii felt like stepping into an entirely different realm, one where family drama seemed utterly incapable of reaching me. At the resort, the staff greeted us with traditional flower leis and refreshing cold tropical drinks. The suite I had originally reserved with Mom and Robert in mind was now ours, offering breathtaking panoramic ocean views and an array of luxurious amenities. As the bellhop deposited our luggage and left us to acclimate, Megan wandered out onto the private lanai. "Sarah," she called back, her voice filled with sheer awe, "you absolutely have to witness this sunset." I joined her outside, and we stood in companionable silence, mesmerized as the sky transformed into a breathtaking masterpiece of fiery orange, soft pink, and deep purple hues painting the vast canvas above the Pacific. "Thank you," I said finally, turning to her, "for coming with me. I honestly couldn't have navigated this alone." Megan squeezed my hand warmly. "Wild horses," she declared, "couldn't have kept me away. Now, let's make a solemn promise to each other. This week is dedicated entirely to healing, not dwelling. We are going to have the absolute time of our lives." That first evening, marked by a relaxed dinner at the resort's beachfront restaurant, toes sinking into the sand, savoring fresh seafood and vibrant tropical cocktails while planning our week's adventures, set the perfect tone for our entire stay. The lingering ache of betrayal was still present in quiet moments, a faint echo, but it was increasingly overshadowed by the richness of new experiences and the presence of genuine joy. Our days rapidly filled with activities I had initially planned for the family, but now they were purely for us.